Seiichi was an ugly, miserable, and completely unwanted beta. A guy who never found his place among his classmates until he was suddenly transported to another world where a strange and ugly girl hugged him and asked him to marry her, which forces us to rewind all the way back to his school days. Seiichi lived sprawled out on the floor, way in the back of the classroom. Everyone called him fat and ugly, roasting him non-stop and putting him through constant bullying. Then, without any warning, a voice echoed through the entire school, ordering everyone who was standing to sit down immediately. According to Seiichi himself, that moment marked the point where his life actually changed. An invisible force pushed every student down into their seat. The voice spoke again. "I am the ruler." The room fell into a stunned silence. The students could barely process how a being like that could possibly be speaking directly to them. Nobody moved, except Seiichi, who had already fallen behind his desk before any of it even started. The ruler announced that everyone would be leaving Earth and traveling to another world, where they would become heroes. Fear spread instantly. Nobody understood what this other world was, or how a transfer like that was even possible. Sensing the panic, the ruler reassured them, promising they would be welcomed with full honors once they arrived. Moments later, each student received new abilities, powers that let them view their own status and use magic in combat. The ruler then gave the final instruction. 10 minutes remained before the transfer. Every team needed 3 members. Chaos broke out immediately. Students were tripping over each other trying to form groups. Seiichi desperately tried to join one, but the moment they checked his status, they burst out laughing. He was absurdly weak, still at level 1. Without hesitation, they rejected him on the spot. The humiliation was crushing. Shortly after, the transfer began. One by one, each student disappeared into the new world, except Seiichi. The ruler turned its attention to him. "Since you ended up alone," it said, "I'll grant you a special ability that no one else has." With that, Seiichi was finally sent to the other world. Upon arriving, Seiichi declared that this marked the beginning of a new adventure, but reality hit him fast. Exhaustion took over, and Seiichi collapsed to the ground. He muttered that it had been 5 days without food, and absolutely nothing significant had happened since then. Lying there, he noticed something squirming nearby, something that looked like a worm. Desperate, he was already opening his mouth to eat it when something hit him in the back from behind. Startled, he shouted, "What just hit me?" He looked forward and saw a fruit lying on the ground. He picked it up and activated his status inspection skill. The result surprised him. It was a fruit that assisted with evolution, an energy fruit. Not seeing anything obviously wrong, he decided to eat it. The moment it touched his tongue, an unbearable bitterness flooded his mouth. Then a system voice echoed. The effect of the evolution fruit began. He braced himself, trying to imagine what would come next. But when he examined his own body, nothing seemed to have changed. While he was thinking about his next move, he looked toward the trees and froze. A monkey was standing there. He realized immediately it was the same creature that had passed over his back before. When he checked its status, his blood ran cold. Level 120, each of them. And he, Seiichi, was still level 1. If those monsters attacked him, it would be over in an instant. The monkeys began making strange, incomprehensible movements, and then they simply walked away. Sometime later, Seiichi returned to the same spot and found the ground covered in countless energy fruits. He stared at them in disbelief, wondering how he'd carry all of it. Then he remembered he had empty storage. One by one, he stored each fruit inside it. Shortly after, he spotted something else nearby. Using his inspection skill, he discovered it was a high-grade healing potion, one of the best available. Without hesitating, he tossed it into storage too. Meanwhile, in another corner of the new world, the remaining students gathered, chatting excitedly about the strange land they'd been transported to. Some childhood friends had also shown up nearby. During the conversation, one of Seiichi's classmates started arguing with the others, insisting that he was the only one who had been sent to a completely different location. Her words unsettled them. Worry spread through the group as everyone began wondering what could have happened to him. On the other side of the forest, Seiichi wandered aimlessly, eating every fruit he came across. Whatever looked strange and caught his attention. Even he couldn't believe what he was doing, but he kept going anyway. The more he consumed, the worse he felt, until his body finally gave in to the poisoning. In that moment, a dark thought crossed his mind. If I'm going to die either way, what's the difference? With that, he started eating everything he saw without the slightest hesitation. Leaning against a tree, he reflected in silence. He still had 2 energy fruits. Even now, he didn't fully understand their effects. But somewhere deep down, he knew they were the reason he had survived this long. The frustration boiled over. Do you even have an effect or what? The system responded immediately. New effects had been applied. His grade had increased. Before he could react, The monkeys attacked him from behind. Seiichi hit the ground. He had always been weak, and blood trickled down as he tried to move. He quickly drank the high-grade healing potion he had obtained earlier, forced his body to stand, and shouted in frustration, "Why attack from behind? I'm gonna finish every single one of you!" The monkey charged again. The gap between them was overwhelming. Seiichi was knocked down a second time, taking hit after hit while the monkey closed in with its jaws wide open to bite. Then, without warning, a strange substance exploded from Seiichi's abdomen. It looked like gas or smoke. The monkey collapsed instantly, dead. Seiichi had survived. With the body dropping, all of the monkey's belongings transferred to him automatically. Seiichi collected the meat and acquired the abilities the monster had possessed. Among the items was a book. When he opened it, he discovered that these monkeys were highly intelligent monsters that lived in high-level dungeons. Only then did he understand why he could read it. The ruler had granted him a special ability. Without warning, the system spoke again. "It's time. Evolution will begin now." Seiichi had no idea what that meant. The pain came immediately. He screamed as the agony tore through his body. After some time, he noticed his weight dropping rapidly. His body grew leaner, more defined. So different he barely recognized himself. Then his bones began to crack and shift violently. That was the cause. Moments later, the system announced that the evolution was complete. As a result, 1,000 points had been added to every attribute. Seiichi opened his status window in disbelief. Everything had increased dramatically. Even so, the evolution had only occurred once. 10 more stages still remained. Despite having defeated a level 120 monster, he was still level 1. 5 months passed in this world. Seiichi made the most of the knowledge he'd gained from the Intelligent Monkey's book. One day, he stood at the edge of a lake, lost in thought, when out of nowhere, a level 301 wolf launched itself at him. The wolf attacked, but Seiichi dodged with his overwhelming speed. He leaped into the air, unleashed a magic strike, and came crashing down on the beast. The wolf was defeated. Seiichi stood there stunned. He couldn't believe that someone still at level 1 had just overpowered a monster that strong. As usual, the wolf's belongings transferred to him automatically. The system informed him that he had gained access to water magic, and among the items was a book with information about wolves. Then, while he was still standing there, evolution began again. The pain was far worse this time. The system indicated that only one stage of evolution remained. Anxiety took over. What happens when it's complete? While he looked around, monkeys began appearing, surrounding him from every direction. Then, descending from above all of them, a massive gorilla dropped down and attacked. The gorilla spoke. She wanted to fight him. Seiichi asked if he could say no. The answer was no. There was no way out. Using the system, he checked her status. Level 775. Fear settled deep in his chest. He realized these monsters had come to take back what he had taken from them. The gorilla declared that she would not allow anyone to interfere. She advanced and struck him with enormous force, sending him flying. Seiichi felt the terrifying power behind the blow. When he barely avoided the next attack, the gorilla paused. Surprised, her interest in him deepened. It was then that Seiichi noticed she was female. He attacked again with a magic kick, but she dodged it effortlessly, countered, and sent him flying deep into the forest. The injuries were serious. She followed him calmly. "That hit didn't kill you," she said. Tears welled up in Seiichi's eyes. "Do you actually want to kill me?" he asked. The gorilla replied that she had become extremely interested in him, and she introduced herself. Her name was Sara. Seiichi stood up again, breathing heavily. "If my magic kick doesn't work, then I'll try something else." He attacked. Sara dodged once more and leaped above him. Seiichi barely evaded again, making her astonishment grow even more. "How are you dodging my attacks?" she murmured. Seiichi examined himself. "There are still things I haven't tried." He drew his dagger, activated water magic, and unleashed a powerful strike, only for it to ricochet straight back at him. Sara stood still. "I didn't do anything," she said. "You reflected the attack yourself." Seiichi was shaken. "How can I be this weak?" Sara advanced with a flurry of punches. He raised his arm to block, but the blow still caught him across the face. He thought it was over. Then the faces of his classmates flashed through his mind. He stood up again. "If magic doesn't work, then I'll do something else." She attacked again, and once more that same strange force exploded from Seiichi's abdomen, like smoke, shapeless, overwhelming. He thought it would kill her, but Sara stopped. "How did you do that?" she asked. Before Seiichi could answer, she smiled. She was deeply impressed, so impressed that she asked him to marry her. Without another word, she scooped him up and carried him away. She brought him to her cave and offered him food. Seiichi refused. "No," Sara said firmly. "You're my husband now. You have to eat." Seiichi stared at her in shock. "I'm a human," he said. "How can I be your husband?" After a while, hunger wore him down, and Seiichi ended up eating what Sara had prepared. The moment he tasted it, his eyes went wide. It was surprisingly delicious. Afterward, Sara handed him a brand new set of clothes. While changing, Seiichi couldn't stop wondering how a gorilla could be so intelligent. Even so, that thought didn't bother him much. What he actually wanted was to escape the forest by any means possible. His mind was focused on finding a way out. He remembered seeing a strange black mark on the map, but before he could act on it, Sara suddenly stopped him. She startled him. Unable to hold back, he asked how she managed to read, write, and do so many complex things. Sara calmly explained that she had found a book inside the cave. From it, she learned to read, write, and speak properly. Then she brought out another book, one that laid out every aspect of running a household, with each small domestic task described in detail. Over time, Seiichi picked up all of it quickly. One day, Sara casually told him he could call her my wife. Seiichi froze. In his head, full-blown panic erupted. "I have to escape no matter what." When Sara left to go hunting, Seiichi stayed behind and waited for his chance. The moment he started running, a giant spider appeared right in front of him. Before he could react, Sara appeared and punched the spider away. She turned to him immediately and asked if he was hurt. In that moment, Seiichi noticed something unsettling. She genuinely cared about him. Somewhere else, deep underground, a skeleton sat alone, quietly repeating a prayer over and over, hoping that someone, anyone, would come and rescue him. Later, while Seiichi and Sara were eating together, she mentioned that she would be heading out that day with the other monkeys to look for energy fruits. Seiichi was so caught off guard that food fell out of his mouth. Sara asked if he knew what energy fruits were. He shook his head, playing dumb. She explained that whoever ate those fruits would strengthen their bloodline and grow stronger. However, anyone who consumed 11 of them would die. Seiichi hesitated and admitted that he had eaten 10. Sara calmly replied that she had eaten 10 as well. She revealed that she had been collecting those fruits for her future husband, but someone had stolen them. Fear gripped Seiichi. He apologized and admitted that it had been him, desperately explaining that he had been starving. To his surprise, Sara said that it didn't matter since it was him. She forgave him. Then she added something that made his heart stop. Now they would need to get properly married. She asked if he hated her. Seiichi answered honestly, "No." "Then we'll get married," she said simply. After that, she left to go hunting again. Seiichi didn't hesitate. He ran. Somewhere else, the remaining students trained together, sparring against their instructor. He refused to let them take part in any real combat. The students complained that swinging swords non-stop wasn't going to make them heroes. The instructor replied that first, they needed to learn how to properly wield a sword. It was well known that upon arriving in this world, the king had ordered them to defeat the Demon King. Although their physical abilities were already exceptional, they still lacked proper training. The students figured they could take down the Demon King easily, but they were still banned from actual battles. The instructor told them to start by fighting weak monsters, and then immediately changed his mind, ordering another full day of training. He reminded them to focus on what they could do right now. At the same time, Seiichi fled deeper into the forest. Sara chased after him desperately, trying to stop him from entering a certain area. She screamed for him to come back, but he refused to listen. He stopped in front of a strange cave. The air inside felt unnatural. Hearing Sara's voice getting closer, panic took hold. He ran inside. There he found a mysterious door. When he opened it, a skeleton was sitting calmly inside. The skeleton spoke, saying it never expected a human to make it this far, and that anyone who had must be incredibly strong. Seiichi checked its status. Name, King of Darkness, level 1. After a moment, the skeleton asked him to check again. This time, level 1500. The skeleton advanced with its sword raised. Before the blow could land, Sara appeared and took the hit in his place. Smiling, she said she was glad she had made it in time to save him. Seiichi screamed her name. She smiled gently. "You finally called me by my name." Seiichi tried to give her a healing potion, but she refused. She said she had already died. Even so, her abilities allowed her to remain with him for a short time after death. When he asked why she had saved him, she replied that he had been kind to her, treating her like a normal person. She had been happy spending time with him. Then she made one last request. She wanted him to smile. Seiichi smiled. In that moment, the skeleton began speaking about love between a human and a gorilla. Seiichi drew his sword and demanded to know what it understood about a love like that. He charged forward, but the skeleton blocked the attack with ease. Seiichi regained his resolve and attacked again. The skeleton dodged and asked one simple question. "Do you love that gorilla?" Seiichi thought back on the time he had spent with Sara. "Yes," he answered. "I loved her. It was real love." Sara began to glow. Seiichi didn't stop. He unleashed magic attacks toward the skeleton, but it summoned a gate that nullified everything. Using his instant movement, Seiichi closed the distance and struck the skeleton with his sword. The skeleton laughed softly. It thanked him, saying he possessed true love. Then its form changed, revealing a young girl, and in the very next instant, she disappeared into thin air. Seiichi stood there in silence. Is that the power? He wondered. The power of love. After that, Sara asked Seiichi to come closer. She told him directly that she wanted to be his wife. After a brief pause, Seiichi replied that he wanted the same thing. The moment he said it, Sara began to glow. The light intensified rapidly, and within seconds her form changed completely. She transformed into a human girl. Seiichi was completely dumbfounded. Sara looked at him and asked if he recognized her. Still in shock, he asked if she was really the gorilla from before. She nodded, which only left him more confused than before. Shortly afterward, Seiichi was shown the skeleton's past. About 15,000 years ago, the skeleton had been a noble swordsman instructor who trained heroes. However, he became entangled in a dark conspiracy orchestrated by the emperor. The entire nation turned against him, including his fiancée. The only person who stood by his side was a girl named Maria, who died protecting him from an attack. From that moment on, he lost his humanity and became a monster. Both Seiichi and Sara felt heavy after hearing the story. Seiichi said quietly that it was all right now, because the skeleton was finally with Maria again. Shortly after, they found a treasure chest. Seiichi opened it and found clothes inside. He handed them to Sara to change into, then continued pulling out the remaining items. Over time, Seiichi acquired new abilities and realized he was now capable of using magic properly. Sara asked if all those abilities belonged to him. Seiichi replied that they were gifts from above. Later, Seiichi accumulated an enormous amount of experience, triggering his final evolution. His appearance shifted slightly, and he could feel that something in him was fundamentally different. "This is my final form," he said. Sara examined him and said that nothing had visibly changed, but she could feel that he had gotten more handsome. Seiichi mentioned that he was thinking about leaving the forest. Sara said she would follow him wherever he went. At that moment, a strange sound echoed above them. Seiichi stopped and looked up. Something that resembled a ship was descending from the sky. A man appeared shortly after and introduced himself as Edward, the dungeon administrator. He said they were the first to complete the dungeon and would receive a reward. The reward included 10 days' worth of travel supplies and equipment for cultivating energy fruits. Sara received new clothes while Seiichi got a helmet that didn't seem particularly useful. Edward informed them he could remove them from the dungeon. Seiichi was surprised, but before he could respond, Edward activated the transfer. When they emerged on the other side, both were taken over by the beauty of the world beyond. Seiichi said quietly that his new adventure truly started here. Somewhere else, a girl stood surrounded by defeated monsters. She calmly stated that she had warned them not to get in her way. Afterward, Sara told Seiichi they should head toward the nearest town. Seiichi agreed. They could bring some energy fruits and maybe run into his classmates there. On the way, they encountered a level 88 slime. Seiichi remembered that slimes were considered weak monsters, but in this world, even they were dangerous. The slime attacked him, but he dodged the strikes. He drew his sword and sliced it in half, destroying the surrounding area in the process. Seiichi stared at the aftermath, surprised by his own strength. After defeating the slime, he gained experience and a skill card, unlocking additional abilities and improving his attributes. Then he noticed a light coming from the helmet. When he tossed it aside, it transformed into a cloak. Inside was a message congratulating him on reaching a new level. It said he was slowly distancing himself from humanity and that the helmet had evolved into a cloak due to his growth. It also mentioned that monsters would no longer recognize him as one of their own. The message then self-destructed, singeing his hair in the process. Sara grabbed the message and Seiichi put on his cloak. He told her it was time to move forward. After some time, they arrived at the nearest town. Seiichi was nervous, but when he held his hand out in front of the gate, he passed through without a problem. Sara followed and passed through as well. The guards told them to complete the inspection quickly. Afterward, they explained that the first step would be to enter the guild. One of the guards stopped Seiichi and warned him not to walk into the guild impulsively. If something went wrong, he should return immediately and avoid making reckless decisions. The gate to the capital was opened and Seiichi and Sara walked in. Inside the guild, they were met with a strange scene. A person dressed in women's clothing was being beaten by a hunter. Seiichi stopped at the entrance in shock. closed the door, and stood there thinking. When he looked in again later, he saw melted wax dripping onto someone's feet, adventurers eating glass, and countless bizarre individuals scattered throughout the hall. He stood there wondering what kind of place this was and whether everyone inside had completely lost it. Sara asked what was wrong. Seiichi covered her eyes and said she shouldn't look. He said they'd go somewhere else. Right at that moment, a strange man appeared behind them and introduced himself as the guild master. Seiichi was taken aback by his appearance. The guild master welcomed them and shoved them inside. While Seiichi was weighing whether to register, the person who had been beaten finally changed out of their outfit after an absurdly long time. They introduced themselves as the president and asked why he wanted to register at the dungeon. Seiichi replied that he wanted to reunite with his classmates. She told him that this dungeon served as a central hub containing information about the entire world, and that he would find everything he needed there. Sara held on to Seiichi from behind and said they should register here. She said he would like the place. Seiichi agreed, saying that if that's what she wanted, they would register. The guildmaster smiled and said he already knew they would make that choice. Suddenly, a group of strange people burst through the gate. While Seiichi was beginning the registration process, they interrupted him, asking if he was new. He replied that he had just arrived to register. They surrounded him and tried to take him with them. He asked them to wait, but after a short time, they dragged him out of the guild and brought him to their leader. They demanded that Seiichi reveal his true appearance. When he did, they commented that he was surprisingly good-looking. The leader then removed their own clothes in a completely incomprehensible way, changed into something else, and started dancing. Seiichi was absolutely dumbfounded. They said it would only be a moment. Fear took over and Seiichi ran. He sprinted across the rooftops as they chased him, but eventually they gave up. After some time, Seiichi returned to the guild. Everyone stared at him in disbelief, wondering how he had managed to come back. Sara asked Seiichi if he had ever imagined ending up in a place like this. She said he was the first to ever do that. Seiichi replied calmly that he had no intention of doing anything to the three people in front of him. He said that anyone who wanted to do whatever they pleased was free to do so. Then he added that he would start collecting samples from them. They explained that these were referred to simply as samples, but they actually served to evaluate the skills of adventurers being assigned to missions. The guildmaster added that missions were divided into defeat missions, guard duties, and small tasks. Iris then said they needed an adventurer of higher rank. Seiichi hesitated, figuring this person would probably be just as weird. At that moment, someone struck their staff on the ground behind them. When Seiichi turned around, he saw a woman striding forward with confidence. "You chose me," she said. The guildmaster introduced her as a ranked adventurer named Altria. Altria said that she had previously refused to supervise candidates in tests, but she was certain that Seiichi wouldn't be bothered by those things. Seiichi replied that it didn't matter to him who the supervisor was. Altria grabbed him by the clothes and asked if he was out of his mind. The guildmaster explained that she had survived a very dangerous situation. Altria added that if he wanted, she would do her job properly. Then she apologized for her behavior and introduced herself again. After that, everyone left the area. Altria explained that the tests involved 3 types of work. The first included demolishing buildings or escorting animals to specific locations. The first destination was an orphanage. Sara said she had experience with that kind of work and would stay there. The nun informed them that questions would not be permitted, as the reward was significant. Sara agreed, and Seiichi left with Altria. Seiichi asked where they were headed next. On the way, they saw children playing. One of them fell and scraped their knee. Altria approached, helped the child up, and told them not to cry. She applied medicine to the scrape and warned that it would sting a little. Afterward, some debris from a wooden structure fell nearby. Seiichi noticed that Altria had already prepared a defensive plan. After that, they went back inside to carry out a building demolition task. Seiichi ignored Altria's instructions. He grabbed the building with one hand and it collapsed entirely. Altria ran to protect him. She said this always happened when she worked with other people. The problems never stopped. It was why she never relied on anyone and preferred to work alone. Seiichi emerged from the rubble complaining that dust had gotten into his mouth. Altria grabbed him and asked if he was out of his mind. She warned that acting alone without orders could get the entire group killed because of his selfishness. Then she apologized, saying she had been too harsh. After that, Altria left. Elsewhere in the kingdom, Seiichi's second-year class had been training for 5 months. The instructors said they were putting them through intense training to prepare them for war. In reality, the students would not be fighting in any war. They were being prepared to defeat the Demon King for reasons that were never fully explained. One of the instructors declared that he didn't want any of the heroes to die. Since they came from a peaceful world, their lives there would remain peaceful as well. Seiichi's final test arrived. He was told to walk a dog. Seiichi said it seemed easy, but after a moment he realized it was absolutely not a dog. It was a wolf. The wolf started dragging him. The wolf's owner cheerfully commented that Seiichi and the wolf looked like they were having a great time together. Seiichi got annoyed, saying they were obviously messing with him. The woman then told Altria that she had changed, that she smiled more than before. She asked if Seiichi was the reason. Altria got flustered and said she was only conducting a test today. That afternoon, Seiichi and the others returned to the guild. The guild master handed Seiichi his reward, pulling the money directly from inside his own clothes. Then he said it was time to rest. He asked if they had a place to stay. Seiichi replied that they would probably sleep outside. Altria offered her house for them to stay at, saying the place was nice and the food was excellent. Seiichi and Sara accepted. After entering the guild, Seiichi went through multiple tests, all supervised by Altria. Later, the three of them headed out together again. Altria informed them that the final test had arrived. They would need to collect 10 medicinal herbs as fast as possible. Seiichi figured it would be easy and ran off without listening to anyone. When it came time to present the herbs, everyone else had theirs neatly arranged. Seiichi, however, didn't have the right herbs. He went back to the forest and came back with a rare item instead. Altria said the task was to collect 10 medicinal herbs, not rare materials. Seiichi replied that he had searched everywhere but couldn't find them. Altria pointed out that the herbs were right behind him. Seiichi collected them and handed them over. She counted them and said there were only 5. He needed 5 more. Seiichi went back into the forest, but after searching for a long time, he found no herbs, only more rare materials. While resting, he heard voices deeper in the forest. 3 people were talking. One of them said they needed to lure the human into the trap, since they had already set everything up. Another said it was fine, even though they hadn't received orders and had entered human territory. The third said the operation wouldn't result in punishment, and would actually earn them a promotion. Seiichi heard all of it, but figured he would just ask them about the herbs. He stepped forward. They assumed he had heard the entire plan. However, Seiichi said he was only there for medicinal herbs and asked them about it. They ignored his question and introduced themselves. One was named Terry, another Gassel, and the third was Gussel, leader of the victim squad. With them was Valkyrie, commander of the demon army's 3rd unit, and that was her personal squad, the victims. Seiichi felt something was off and decided to leave without continuing the conversation. They stopped him. They believed he had seen everything and said they wouldn't let him leave alive. Valkyrie summoned a creature called a troll, massive and comparable to an ogre. The troll attacked Seiichi directly, aiming straight at his face. Valkyrie said he wouldn't survive. In the very next instant, the attack was stopped. Everyone froze. Seiichi had blocked it. He explained that he used a specific ability and redirected the force of the attack back on itself. Then he crushed their weapons with his bare hands and asked again about the medicinal herbs. Fear spread through them. They decided to retreat, saying the mission they had come for was over. As they left, they added that one day they would return and settle the score with him. After that, Seiichi went back to Altria, carrying not only the medicinal herbs, but also several rare materials he shouldn't have collected. He told her he was completely wiped out. Altria handed him 5 herbs and said that next time he needed to search more carefully for medicinal herbs. Seiichi remarked that she was extremely strong, but she seemed annoyed and informed them that there was still another test. Somewhere else, the victim squad was gathered underground. Valkyrie was beating them for disobeying her orders. Gussel explained that they had placed teleportation spells to weaken the human army. Valkyrie asked where those spells would send the humans. They replied that the spells would transport them directly into a dungeon filled with magic. Valkyrie was shocked. She said she felt sorry for the humans who would be sent there. For disobeying her orders, she decided to punish the 3 of them by having the hunter hit them 500 times. Outside, Seiichi and Sara were sitting together waiting. A city guard approached and asked what they were doing there. Seiichi replied that they were registering for the guild's final test. The guard asked if Altria was the one supervising the test. When Seiichi confirmed it, the guard said Altria was a really good person and asked them to treat her well. After the test, Seiichi and Sara agreed and said she was a friend of theirs. Shortly after, Altria arrived and asked if they knew each other. The guard wished them safety and told them to give their best in the test. Altria then guided them to begin the second test, which required them to defeat 10 slime monsters. It was the final test. She told them to show their best performance. Altria asked Sara about her weapon. Sara replied that she didn't have one. Her hands were her weapons. Seiichi added that her hands really did work like weapons. The slimes soon began to appear and Altria sent Seiichi forward to fight. He responded by drawing his sword and getting ready to attack. However, as soon as the slimes reached a certain point, they suddenly disappeared. Nobody understood how or why. Altria stopped the test immediately. She explained that someone had placed spells throughout the area and that they needed to return to the guild as fast as possible to report the situation. While Altria was walking ahead, her foot touched one of the spells, activating a teleport. Seiichi and Sara were holding her hands, so all three were transported together. Moments later, a dragon appeared and said it finally smelled humans after many long days. Seiichi asked Altria where they were. She replied that she didn't know, then asked why they had followed her. She explained that if she had been alone and no one had touched her, she would have escaped safely. Seiichi said that his body had moved on its own, so he grabbed her hand instinctively. Sara added that they wanted to help her, and that was why they followed. Altria was satisfied with the answer. She told them to move quickly so they could get back home. Altria handed them a guide stone. She explained that if the group got separated, the stone would help them locate each other. If any member was in danger, the stone would glow red. She began walking again, but suddenly stopped. Her foot pressed on a hidden stone and she realized she had triggered a trap. A wall instantly appeared, separating Seiichi from Altria and placing them on opposite sides. Altria tried to break through the wall, but it wouldn't give. She decided to fall back and find another route. On the other side of the wall, Seiichi wondered what they should do. He struck the wall in frustration, but it didn't break and his hand got hurt. Sara reminded him about the guide stone, saying it might help them locate Altria. Seiichi asked how they were supposed to use it. Moments later, the stone began to glow, lifted into the air, and flew straight toward the wall where Altria was on the other side. Realizing she was beyond that wall, Seiichi and Sara felt confused. Sara then pointed out another path behind them. Somewhere else, Altria was fighting a monstrous giant zombie. The blow struck her with full force, leaving her badly injured and dropping her to the ground. Even so, she said she wouldn't lose here. She unleashed her powerful cutting technique and managed to defeat the monster. Afterward, her thoughts turned to Seiichi and Sara. She hoped they were safe and that all three of them would make it back home together. Seiichi and Sara managed to figure out their own position, but the paths around them were twisted and confusing. Sara mentioned a specific room and they headed there together. They found a chest up ahead. Seiichi ignored it and kept walking. Sara asked why he hadn't opened it. He replied that it looked dangerous, so he'd rather leave it alone. As they walked away, a sound came from the chest. It started to move. Arms and legs emerged and it ran toward them. Both of them were shocked. Seiichi attacked using Aqua Bind, landing a direct hit. The chest shattered and disappeared. In its place, a smaller chest appeared. When they opened it, they found something that looked like a scholar's journal. The book explained that the chest had once been extremely important for collecting treasures inside dungeons. However, with the creation of modern treasure chests, it had become obsolete. Over time, the chest learned magic, developed limbs, and acquired various abilities. Humans eventually began using treasure chests to summon monsters, and the chest itself began to wander without purpose. Seiichi and Sara were deeply saddened by the story. Inside the chest, they found a ring of misfortune. Seiichi understood that the ring doubled bad luck and caused problems for the wearer, making it practically useless. At that moment, the guide stone in Sara's hand began to glow red, the signal for danger. At the same time, they saw a vision of Altria standing in front of a massive gate. The gate suddenly opened. Altria said there was no other path ahead and decided to go in. The gate closed behind her. An enormous dragon appeared and said she had come to be devoured. Altria attacked it with her axe, declaring she wouldn't die like this. She began fighting with everything she had. Meanwhile, the victim squad had been defeated. Valkyrie said it was clear that they wouldn't follow her orders. She warned them about the Black Dragon, who was far stronger than they expected, and one of the Demon King's most powerful soldiers. Anyone who faced it would suffer terrible misfortune. Seiichi remembered that the guide stone glowed red when someone was in danger. He realized Altria was in serious trouble. The stone flew forward, guiding them toward her, but once again it collided with a wall. Furious, Seiichi punched the wall twice with all his strength. It didn't break and his hand was seriously injured. Somewhere else, Altria had collapsed after fighting the dragon. The dragon said she was a good fighter for a human. She replied that she wouldn't die before she brought Seiichi and Sara back home. She stood up and called out the name of her attack: Catastrophe. Her body glowed pink as she unleashed her most powerful strike. The dragon was surprised and said she was finally worthy of fighting it. It countered, sending her crashing into the wall. She stood up again. The dragon mocked humans for their stubbornness, then pulled out a crystal and struck her leg with it. Even so, Altria refused to give up and attacked again. The dragon used its tail, hitting her stomach with the crystal, and remarked how strange it was for a human to fight this way. Altria felt like she was about to die. Her one last wish was to see Seiichi and Sara's smiles one more time. The dragon was preparing to incinerate her with fire. When she heard Seiichi calling her name, Seiichi and Saria arrived and saved her. They said they had come to rescue her. Seiichi carried Saria and said they were there to save Altria. Saria asked if she was alright, and Altria replied that she was. Furious, Seiichi struck the wall with all his strength. The wall, the one that hadn't broken before, finally shattered. He said simply that he wanted it to break, and now it had. Seiichi carried Saria and ran, reaching Altria's location that way. Altria asked about the magic. Seiichi said they had seen her attacking when they arrived. Altria tried to stand, but the pain from her earlier injuries flared back up. Saria then asked Seiichi to heal her. Seiichi pulled out a healing potion and handed it to Saria. After that, Seiichi stood up and asked Saria to keep an eye on Altria. Then, without overthinking it, he turned to face the dragon and shouted at it, blaming it for everything that had happened to Altria. His emotions had taken him further than he had planned. The dragon replied that it would not allow Seiichi to leave there alive. Seiichi drew his sword and said he had come to defeat it. The dragon unleashed flames toward Saria, but Seiichi used his instant movement and barely avoided the attack. The dragon commented that humans were an incredibly troublesome species. Then it used something resembling fabric magic, making its attacks slip through space more fluidly. Seiichi activated his inspection and discovered that the dragon's magic level had reached 5,000, twice that of a genius-class mage. Another attack came, and once again Seiichi avoided it. The dragon's rage intensified, and its eyes turned red. Seiichi suddenly lost control of his own body. The dragon lifted him up and hurled him violently into the wall. Blood poured from his wounds as he suffered multiple injuries. He fell to the ground, wondering why his anti-restraint abilities weren't activating. The dragon grew even more furious and began preparing its most powerful spell. This time, Seiichi forced himself to stop acting on impulse. He tried to think instead of charging in blind. Saria screamed to him, saying that the spell the dragon was using to attack was the same one he could reverse back against it. Seiichi replied that it still wouldn't be enough to defeat the dragon on its own. He activated Catastrophic Descent to counter the dragon's strike. A devastating flood of water exploded and inundated the entire area, drowning the dragon within it. The dragon struggled to get up and attack again, but Seiichi dodged the blow once more. The dragon repeated the same attack. Seiichi lost control for a brief moment, but steadied himself, caught the opening, and dodged again. The dragon froze in disbelief. Seiichi pulled back slightly and shouted that he was ending this now. A new sword skill manifested and he charged forward, striking the dragon with a clean, precise series of blows. Every single one landed with accuracy. The dragon said quietly that it had only wanted to live in peace there, with the Demon King. Then, without warning, it disappeared. The battle was over, and exhaustion washed over Seiichi. The dragon's belongings appeared in the form of a chest. As his level began to rise, Seiichi wondered why the dragon had hated humans so deeply. Saria came up behind him and hugged him, asking if he was okay. He said he was, then asked about Altria. Saria explained that she had brought herbs and treated Altria's injuries. Altria was sleeping now, and would wake up soon. Relieved, Seiichi said that was great news and that they could head back home. Saria then asked how they were supposed to do that. Seiichi suddenly shouted, "I have absolutely no idea how we're getting back home." It was one of those moments where someone realizes way too late that they didn't plan a single thing past the fight. Seiichi took off running in whatever direction might lead them out of the dungeon, picking up everything he found along the way, including the dragon's belongings. When he examined the black dragon's gem, he discovered that consuming it would improve all of his physical and magical attributes. Without much hesitation, he ate it. After that, he obtained a special type of magic. He understood that this magic had emerged after completing the dungeon and claiming its treasures. He opened the dragon's chest and found a piece of fabric, which he put away. The final item was a book, the Black Dragon's biography. The book explained that the dragon had served as a guardian in the land of women. It used that place to forge powerful weapons and materials. Humans eventually attacked, trying to kill it and steal its resources. The Demon King protected the dragon from humanity, but later the humans rallied together and killed the Demon King himself. From that moment on, the dragon was sealed inside the dungeon, consumed by hatred toward humans, wanting nothing more than to return to the Demon King. When Seiichi finished reading, he broke down in tears. Saria asked if Mr. Sheep had shown up this time. Moments later, an explosion echoed through the area. Seiichi felt like his hair had nearly been completely burned off. He immediately realized that Mr. Sheep had arrived. A message appeared congratulating him on completing the dungeon. It added that Seiichi was beginning to distance himself from his humanity. That comment made him sad. Mr. Sheep said that they had failed to let the dragon live in peace alongside the Demon King. He He also complained that Seiichi hadn't found him in a very long time. Seiichi felt anger rising inside him. Mr. Sheep then told them to keep completing dungeons in their own way. He added that he would give them a break and stop interfering for now. Using his special magic, Seiichi and Sara escaped the dungeon and went straight to the guild. Altria woke up and discovered that everything had happened while she was asleep in Seiichi's arms. She asked to be put down, but Sara said her resistance hadn't recovered yet and she couldn't be safely lowered. Altria apologized for the bad luck, saying she had caused them more trouble. Then she checked her status, revealing that her luck had fallen to -2 billion. Seiichi was floored. Sara explained that this curse had been with Altria since birth and that anyone who stayed close to her would be affected by the same misfortune. That fact caused Altria tremendous pain. Altria said that anyone who stayed by her side would have to endure that bad luck. Seiichi replied firmly that that wasn't true and that no one should be forced to carry another person's curse. When they arrived at the guild, Altria asked what had happened. Ares said they had gathered a lot of information to locate Seiichi and his team. One of the officers said they had done it to reunite with their friends. Ares said she was genuinely happy they had come back, though Altria could barely believe that kind of feeling was being directed at her. Seiichi told Altria that the people she thought would be bothered by her were actually happy for her now. Not even her bad luck had affected anyone in the guild, and everyone there liked her. Hearing that, Altria ran out in tears. Nobody understood why. Seiichi stood there, confused. Sara told him to go after her and bring her back. Somewhere else, members of the victim squad were playing a game made by humans. They mentioned that the heroes from the human world had brought it with them. Valkyrie arrived and said that someone had killed a powerful spell. The team didn't believe it. Killing one of the Demon King's strongest soldiers seemed impossible. Valkyrie said she didn't know who had done it, but she was certain it was an act against the demons. The group started wondering who could possibly be capable of something like that. Meanwhile, Seiichi searched the city for Altria. He used the guide stone to track her down, but a woman stepped in his path. Seiichi recognized her. Her name was Helen. He asked if she had seen Altria, but she said she hadn't. Then she asked if he knew about Altria's bad luck. Seiichi replied that he knew very well. Helen asked for his help. Seiichi said he was willing to do anything and to stay by Altria's side because she mattered to him. With that, he continued the search. Seiichi returned to the same place where he had done his first test. The building he had touched back then was still in ruins, standing there as a quiet reminder of poorly thought-out decisions. He began searching for Altria and found her sitting alone in a corner, silent. He approached and asked if she was okay and why she was sitting there. Altria asked if people still needed her. He replied that everyone liked Altria and that they genuinely needed her. She looked at him and asked if the people she cared about, the ones she considered important, also saw her as important. Seiichi understood that she was still hurting. He remembered what Helen had told him before, to stay by her side as much as possible. He gently wrapped his arms around her from behind and said he would always be with her, that whenever she felt lonely or out of place, he would be there. No matter what happened, he would protect her. Big words said with total confidence, exactly the way humans do when they suddenly decide to carry the weight of the world. Altria began to cry. Guild members soon appeared. Sara asked everyone if Seiichi was okay. The guild master responded calmly that everything would be fine. Ares said not to worry, stating that Altria would come back with Seiichi. Seiichi felt something strange as he held her. He convinced himself that he was only doing it to comfort her. Then he caught a pleasant scent and immediately pushed the thought aside, just like any hero, desperately dodging his own feelings. Altria thanked Seiichi for putting her heart at ease. Thinking about the curse that had been with her since birth, Seiichi asked her to hold out her hand. He took out a ring he had found in a dungeon and placed it on her finger, explaining that its effect worked in the opposite direction from her curse. He said it was the Ring of Happiness, a high-level mythic item that would flip her bad luck into good luck. The luck that sat at -2 million would rise to +4. The curse would be removed. Altria asked if it would really work. Seiichi held her hands and said this wasn't the moment for explanations. She would live happily without the bad luck, and he would stay by her side. Words that sounded less like a spell theory and more like a marriage proposal. Altria's face went completely red. She shoved him and ran. Seiichi stood there confused, not understanding why that had happened again. Then it hit him. He had said things that people don't normally just say that easily. He followed her for a moment, then stopped when he remembered that she had thanked him before running off. He decided not to do anything more for now. What mattered was that she was happy, or at least that's what he told himself. Later, another reward chest appeared. In another scene, Altria walked through the city wondering why her heart was beating so fast. as if her body had entered emergency mode without asking for permission. Days later, Seiichi and Sara were having breakfast together. His discomfort was obvious. Sara asked what was wrong. He said he didn't understand what was going on. Every time he tried to talk to Altria, she avoided him like he was a walking disease. He asked if that meant she hated him. Sara replied that it was just a hunch, and that humans were really great at guessing the wrong thing. She said she was heading to the orphanage and that he could go anytime. Seiichi said he would gather some information. After Sara left, Seiichi began looking into the world and his friends. He first went to the guildmaster, who immediately started talking about a training camp. Seiichi stopped him and said he wasn't looking for training. Then Ares arrived and began explaining another training course. Seiichi clarified again that he wanted information, not to become another soldier in a program he didn't understand. Finally, the guildmaster mentioned that he had heard about a newly summoned hero. Seiichi froze when he heard the Demon King's name. Ares explained that the heroes had been summoned to fight against him. Then she directed Seiichi to the royal library. The guildmaster pulled a map out of his clothes, as if everyone here carried maps on standby just in case a lost hero showed up, and handed it to Seiichi, showing where the place was. In the palace, the king looked at the heroes and complained that Jack hadn't trained them properly. The mage suggested sending them to a high-level academy. After all, they were still children and easy to influence. When the king asked what would happen if they refused, the mage smiled coldly. They would make them use restraints. And just like that, the discussion was over. Seiichi entered the library and began reading. He noticed that every book described the demons as evil. However, humans had done far worse things. He could no longer tell who the real villains were anymore. As he turned the pages, he gained a new ability, then ice magic, then more magic. In the end, he acquired every element at its highest level. He suddenly stood up, frustration building. "Is it really impossible," he muttered, "to live like a normal human being?" Later in the city, hunger hit him. He bought a painting from a girl who drew animals, then followed the smell of food to a cafe. He hesitated for a moment, worried he might walk into a new kind of crazy. In the end, he went in. The food was annoyingly good. He met Rosie, then Navave, the cafe owner. They casually mentioned that placing a ring on a woman's hand there was considered a formal declaration of love. Seiichi froze. They added that backing out after that could result in death or worse. Only then did Seiichi realize he had walked straight into a trap without even noticing. Somewhere else, Altria admitted that she loved Seiichi. Together with Helen, she began planning how to win his heart. That night, while Seiichi stood lost in thought, Altria suddenly kissed him and confessed her love, even knowing about Sara. Before he could process any of it, Sara appeared and calmly told him to kiss Altria back. Seiichi broke down in tears because he finally understood that his life was no longer just a combat adventure. He had entered the most dangerous dungeon of all, human relationships. Seiichi went back to talk to Altria. She told him that from now on, he could address her by a special title, one that only the people closest to her were allowed to use. At that moment, Seiichi made a direct and sincere confession. He expressed his feelings without hesitation. They shared a brief kiss, and just like that, their group became a family. 3 people, 1 life, 1 new reality. Now I had 2 wives. It wasn't part of any plan, but I accepted it the same way I accepted every new adventure. Without warning, the guildmaster appeared, followed by Helen and several others. They immediately started congratulating him as if everyone had been waiting for exactly this moment all along. Shortly after, Seiichi sat down to eat. In front of him, the team leader and the others suddenly broke into an enthusiastic and inexplicable dance. Seiichi asked what was going on. The team leader explained that Seiichi still didn't have a horse. Any high-level adventurer needed one for traveling, for missions, and for covering long distances. Then he pulled a map out of his pocket, because in this world, pockets apparently existed exclusively to store maps, and handed it to Seiichi, showing where horses were sold. Seiichi went to buy a horse on his own. Sara headed home while Altria went to finish some tasks. Looking at the map, Seiichi muttered to himself, wondering where the heck that place even was. Even so, he followed the directions until he reached the stable. He talked to the owner and said he wanted to buy a horse. The man asked if he wanted to enter the competition. Seiichi asked what competition. The owner explained it was a race involving creatures that resembled horses, where weapons were allowed and the prizes were huge. If Seiichi wanted to participate, he would have to buy a mount from there. The man first showed him a horse that was famous among adventurers. Then he pointed to another one. "Don't mind the looks," he said. "That one's faster than a dragon horse." Seiichi stared at it, completely thrown off by its appearance. The owner was holding the horse when it suddenly keeled over. "It's dead," the man said casually. Seiichi looked at him. "Are you serious?" The man shook his head. He explained that the horse was insane and extremely dumb. It could die if it forgot to breathe, heard a loud noise, or took even a minor injury. But if Seiichi learned to control it, it would be very difficult for anyone to beat it. Then the owner showed him another animal. He said it was wild, had never been tamed, and he didn't recommend buying it. Seiichi took one look and said immediately, "That's not a horse, that's a donkey." At that moment, the donkey kicked the owner with full force, then kicked him again. Seiichi froze, not sure whether it was wise to step in or just watch. Suddenly, Seiichi felt his ancient language abilities activate. He realized the donkey had been talking, telling the owner not to come near and that only it would decide who was allowed to touch it. The donkey then turned to Seiichi and asked if he could hear it. Seiichi said yes. The donkey invited him to come closer and then attacked without warning. Seiichi dodged and the blow slammed violently into another spot. It attacked again, but this time Seiichi grabbed its leg and lifted it into the air, holding it in place. The donkey struggled, but Seiichi said that if he put it down, it would just try to attack again. The donkey gave up. It apologized and said Seiichi was the only one worthy of being its master. Seiichi accepted without hesitation. Weird situations had already become part of his daily life. The donkey introduced itself. Its name was Lulun. The stable owner stood there in total shock. Seiichi asked if he wanted to sell the donkey. The man erupted in anger, demanding to know if Seiichi had wandered in straight from kindergarten. Lulun got mad and kicked him hard, sending him flying into the wall. Seiichi and Lulun walked out together. Outside, Lulun seemed happier than ever. Suddenly, she caught a strange scent and said she smelled food. She declared that she was absolutely starving. Seiichi said he would buy her some food and went to get it. Lulun thanked him, saying his heart was very kind. They ate together, and the food was surprisingly good. While walking, they heard raised voices. It was the voice of the brother of the girl Seiichi had once bought a painting from. He was scolding her, saying that if she wasted her talent, none of it would mean anything. Seiichi stepped in and asked what was going on. The man asked who he was. The girl thanked Seiichi for having bought her painting before and introduced herself as Mi. The brother told Seiichi that Mi would be entering an art competition in 1 month, the biggest art contest in the kingdom. The brother asked if Seiichi had really bought Mi's painting. Seiichi said yes, because it was beautiful. The brother asked if he had seen the other painting. Seiichi said he hadn't. The brother froze and showed him another painting. "So you didn't buy mine?" Seiichi looked at it. Lulun said calmly, "It's just a triangle." Seiichi nodded slowly. "Yeah, that's definitely a triangle." The brother completely short-circuited. Mi told Seiichi that her brother's name was Theobald. Theobald explained again that Mi would be entering the competition. Seiichi said he planned to enter too, and asked Mi if she intended to win. Seiichi admitted that he was worried about how tough the competition might be, but that winning would give him a huge confidence boost. Theobald explained the prizes. The most valuable was the Napoli fish, a legendary fish of incredible flavor. Even 5th place could win it. Lulun perked up immediately. She wanted to try it, and told Seiichi they absolutely had to enter. Seiichi asked if she really planned to race using a donkey. He answered his own question before she could. Yes. The day of the competition arrived. Altria and Sara came to cheer Seiichi on. The other competitors were introduced along with their mounts. When Seiichi looked them all over, one thing became clear to him. This race was not going to be anything close to normal. After that, the announcer Lorna Jerkus appeared. She was one of the Valkyries, and the moment her name echoed through the arena, the crowd exploded into deafening applause. Lorna stood there with the calm confidence of someone very much used to being the center of attention and began explaining the prizes. Even before she finished speaking, Seiichi and Lulun's eyes went wide in shock. The over-the-top energy was obvious. She first announced the 2nd place prize, a photograph of Captain Louise of the Valkyries. The instant the image appeared, Seiichi and Lulun froze solid. Their innocent hearts had no idea whether to scream or run. While the audience plunged into an even greater frenzy, Lorna revealed the grand prize. 1st place, a full day with all the Valkyries. The applause reached a completely different level, as if the collective thought process had simply shut off. Lulun looked calmly at Seiichi and said with quiet wisdom, "We're just going for 5th place, the Tambuli." Shortly after, Mi and Theobald approached Seiichi and asked why he was there. He said he had come just to cheer them on. Theobald warned him that the race was extremely dangerous and asked why he didn't withdraw. Seiichi replied that his friends had helped him in the past, and now it was his turn to help Mi. Then he prepared for the race. Lorna explained the rules. Exit through the main gate, complete 1 full lap, and return. Weapons were allowed because peace wasn't exactly a priority in this world. The gate opened. Lorna declared the race had begun. The competitors surged forward almost immediately. Several large horses stopped and collapsed to the ground. Their owners shouted that their horses had died from trivial causes, excuses that sounded strangely familiar in races that were anything but normal. The remaining participants went through the gate. Seiichi and Lulun did not. Lulun was moving extremely slowly. Seiichi asked what was wrong. She said she had been excited about the tambuli since morning and hadn't eaten breakfast. Now she was starving. Seiichi was floored, but immediately pulled out food and gave it to her, as if hunger were the real enemy the whole time. By this point, the other racers were way out ahead. One of the competitors blew a wolf whistle and summoned a massive wolf. The adventurers were stunned. Nothing had been said about monsters being allowed in the race. The wolf looked terrifying in size, and the race started feeling more like a survival battle. Suddenly, Lulun accelerated to an unbelievable speed. Lorna announced that the race was becoming too dangerous and should be stopped, but Seiichi was already pushing forward at a frightening pace. The crowd followed every move on the giant screen. Sara and Altria cheered him on at the top of their lungs. Me and Theobald commented that the race had finally gotten interesting. Seiichi asked Lulun if she was dizzy and told her to slow down. She explained that she had eaten a fruit that made her incredibly fast, but she could no longer control herself. The adventurers were stunned by her speed and said the donkey would get devoured by the wolf if this kept up. Lulun simply replied that she could go anywhere. Then she leaped over everyone and launched herself directly at the wolves. In one single moment, the wolves were sent flying through the air and dropped lifeless to the ground. Lulun then charged at the hell wolf, which had been specifically summoned to kill Seiichi. She punched it in the snout and it crashed down in defeat. When Seiichi and Lulun reached the other side, the remaining racers froze in fear. Some said that fighting them would be pure suicide and immediately withdrew. Lorna was about to stop everything, but Seiichi announced that he was still racing. He kept going with Lulun. They reached the gate. First place. Seiichi had no idea how any of that had happened, but me, Theobald, Altria, Sara, and the entire crowd went absolutely wild. Theobald asked me if she could draw now without any worries. She replied that she already had a great idea and would start immediately. After that, Lulun started crying because she hadn't received 5th place, the tambuli. Seiichi tried to calm her down and said what mattered was that they had won. She didn't believe him at first, but he said that if it didn't happen today, they would try again. There would always be better food somewhere in this world. Lulun finally calmed down and hugged him. Then she began to glow. Everyone watched, wondering if she was even real, while the light wrapped around her completely. Moments later, Lulun transformed into a human girl. Seiichi was paralyzed. He quickly dressed her, but Altria got furious and demanded to know what he had done. He tried to explain, but she didn't believe him and hit him hard. Seiichi explained that Lulun had eaten an evolution fruit and turned human. Sara confirmed it. Then Sara transformed back into a gorilla. Altria felt a genuine shock. Sara explained that she had once been just like Lulun. The situation finally settled down. Altria took care of Lulun, fixed her appearance, and everyone quickly became enchanted by her. Suddenly, a gate opened. 2 figures appeared and immobilized Seiichi with a spell, ignoring his protests and claims of innocence. He was taken by force. In the demon palace, the generals gathered. Some questioned the reason for the meeting, while one commander expressed her desire to go back to sleep. Artoria entered last and announced her intention to form an alliance with the Kingdom of Wembley. Everyone was shocked. She confirmed that a single human had defeated the strongest member of the Demon King's army. His name was Seiichi. Karen objected and reminded them of the prophecy, but Artoria declared that she was prepared to sacrifice her life for her people. The general stood by her side. Karen stormed out in anger. Somewhere else, Seiichi was taken to Arkishel Castle. The spell immobilizing him was removed, and he was led to a fortified training ground. Louise, captain of the Valkyries, appeared and defeated everyone with ease. Seiichi was handed a wooden sword. When he asked to go home, Louise ignored him completely. Later, new students began enrolling at Barbador Academy, including Seiichi's friends. Some students mocked them, claiming they were now stronger and fully capable of fighting monsters. After that, the student council president stepped forward and asked what they wanted. One of them replied that they wanted a small fight. Another added, way too eagerly, that they should hold a contest to see who could defeat the most monsters. She slapped them immediately. With a cold expression, she said she had no time for that kind of nonsense. After that educational slap, everyone who had been giving Seiichi's classmates a hard time went quiet, having received a very quick lesson in the difference between courage and trash talk. The scene shifted to Seiichi facing Louise in combat. Seiichi dodged her first strike with relative ease. Louise looked at him in surprise and said she hadn't expected him to dodge the attack so cleanly. Seiichi replied that it wasn't as easy as it looked. After all, he hadn't been born dodging Valkyrie attacks every morning. Louise announced that she would use her full power in the next strike and charged again. Even so, Seiichi kept dodging every blow she threw at him. The Valkyries watching were speechless. How could someone dodge her attacks like that? Who was he really?